You're always so excited when the first schools of fish show up in June or July. They just spread out and settle in for the summer, and then the big influx of bait in September is what really fires them up again. Most of the time, the big influx is butterfish. My name's Kevin Gould. I'm originally from Maine. Went to school down near Cape Cod and never left. Started fishing in high school for striped bass and always was interested in catching the biggest fish available. So it turned from catching schoolie stripers to pursuing the biggest stripers around, then it turned into bluefin tuna fishing. Well, my dad didn't really fish before I got into fishing when I was 4 or 5 years old. So he and I started tuna fishing together in the 2005-2006 timeframe when everyone got into chasing bluefin on spinning gear. He still lives out in Western Mass, so he doesn't get out as much as I do. But he'll come down, he'll spend the night at my house, and then we'll go hook the boat up and fish all day, and he'll have to drive 2.5 hours back to Western Mass every day. The progression of the small bluefin moving into New England waters changes every year. Last year, there were no bluefin south of the Vineyard in June, and then 4th of July weekend, they flooded into the Provincetown area, Stellwagen Bank, down to Nauset Beach. Typically, July is when the fish kind of spread out, so they're really schooled up tight when they show up in June. By the middle to end of July, you start to have some yellowfin moving in, so that will distract us a little bit. There are still guys that are getting them pretty well out east of Nantucket. They just spread out and settle in for the summer, and then the big influx of bait in September is what really fires them up again. So middle of September, October, November is when we really start fishing inshore, going out with nothing but spinning rods, just chasing around on topwater. So there are two main concerns when it comes to selecting which rod I'm going to throw at the fish. I leave the dock every day with 18,000, 20,000, and 14,000 size spinning reels. My 14,000 has 60-pound braid on it, and my 18,000 has 100-pound braid on it. So I really can't throw a 2-ounce plug on 100-pound braid. I don't need 100-pound braid to stop any of these fish. You're never putting more than 22, 25 pounds of drag on these fish. We just can't do it. I want to be able to throw a lighter plug further. I'll throw my 14,000. I know that I can stop any fish up to about 200 pounds on that OSHA plugger with a 14,000 Stella, no problem. The butterfish usually arrive at the end of the summer when the water temps are at their warmest. Butterfish could be anywhere from the size of your thumbnail up to about 2.5 inches in length. In years past, they've shown up more up off Cape Cod Bay, a Peaked Hill bar, and the golf ball. But the past 2 or 3 years, it's just been east of Chatham on Crab Ledge. The first thing we look for going out expecting to find tuna feeding on butterfish is birds. Doesn't matter if you're up off Provincetown or down east of Nantucket, you're always looking for birds first. You spend a lot of time hanging out around the weeds after you get frustrated chasing the birds and the tuna around. So you can post up by a big section of floating weeds and expect that the fish are going to show up there eventually. So they're not feeding on large schools of butterfish. Might only be a dozen baits. The baits are small. Kind of have to decide if you want to try and match the bait fish or just throw something big and obnoxious that's really going to catch the fish's eye. There are fewer bait fish. The fish are moving fast. It's almost like albie fishing where they'll come up through once and then you don't know where they go. If you can find a school of fish that's going to turn around and come back up through that same school of bait fish, you can hook up almost every time.
Tight.
We started out targeting tuna that were eating butterfish with small metals, trying to mimic the butterfish. Then it went to heavy white paddle tails, typically in the 5.5 to 6.5 inch range. Don't really mimic the butterfish, but they move slowly and awkwardly like a butterfish does. We always throw stick baits for their castability and the ability to get down below the birds that'll still come in trying to pick up your bait. The retrieve with a stick bait is so typical to bluefin, where you get out there, you're excited. The first thing you're gonna do is start ripping that stick bait in as fast as you can like you're albie fishing. But you really have to slow down because those butterfish are slow moving baits. So I like to do a sweep and reel, sweep, pause, reel. Retrieve, you can also just turn the handle a few times, pause a half a second, turn the handle a few times just to get that bait to dig, 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 and then die for a half a second. You know, you try not to wish the summer away looking forward to the bluefin tuna, topwater bite east of Chatham, but you look forward to it all season.